Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lyds, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and we are here in Ongren, in the woods, and we have now learned a little bit about what types of enemies we're expecting to encounter here. We went into a fight with a catechin, I believe, previously, so some vampires, perhaps, and we can either progress further by building a bridge here, spending some wood to do so, but we could circumvent that little bit of the cost we need to pay if we are willing to go into this fight here with what looks to be some kind of necker or foglet, maybe. So we'll see how we fare here. Will it be a similar encounter to what we had before? Drip, drip, drip. Okay, that's a weird description, but a low rumble echoed in the distance. The sky opened and rain began to fall. Helms, shields, and plate rattled noisily under heavy raindrops. Soldiers walked along a narrow path, taking care not to slip, and often cursing their miserable lot. But they all quickly fell silent when, at the fore of the march, a scout stopped suddenly in his tracks. Over the loud roar and patter of rain, he had heard something that chilled his blood. Okay, so this, at least in multiplayer Gwent, is a foglet, and it's a standard battle, so win 2 out of 3 rounds. We'll see to what extent there are units starting on the board or any other alternative factors to consider. Okay, so before we start looking at the cards here, let's see. So, Ancient Foglet. Every 4 turns on turn start, destroy the lowest unit, or units, plural, then damage a random enemy by the power of the destroyed unit, or units. So, on one hand, yeah, I mean, we basically want to make it so that that's always destroying one of their cards. There's a chance they have Death Wish, in which case that could actually be something they benefit from. I mean, we are starting with several weak units on the board, so I imagine it's going to be pretty hard to circumvent that. But, okay, those are all things to consider. We saw in the previous encounter the Strays Infiltrators were amazing, especially when combined with Tainted Ale, so I do like that. We found that early on it was a little bit tricky to find our first couple turns good plays for that. So that is kind of what I'm wondering here. I do like Gascon, but we probably prefer to see him in a later round. So what if we dump him? Definitely don't want to have you in hand. Alchemist, also something that's going to take a while to use. Just what's our first turn play, right? Would make it Gabor if we hide a different one of these trinkets in our deck, but still not loving it. Still not loving it. Oh my goodness, okay. Well, at this point, we kind of just have to. Settle. It's like, what do we do here? Do we Slinger and hit one of our own units? Infiltrator, they don't have anything. Barnabas, generally speaking, is best to use when there are lots of units on the board, because there's oftentimes going to be more value out of that. Gabor doesn't have anything to hit. If we were to get the damage route and we didn't put any trinkets back into our deck, nothing for Tainted Ale to hit. Alsa's Thunder, nothing to hit. Northern Wind, nothing to hit. So this is kind of what I mean. I think in the past, when we found ourselves in a situation like this, we've used Slinger, moved the Horn, and then also moved the Footman. Under the assumption that we could always use the Order abilities and swap them out here. Those are going to, or at least one of them is probably going to get destroyed by their leader ability anyway, so maybe it's fine for that reason. But indications, perhaps, that we may be overdue for some deck adjustments here. Okay, they will, what? Seize a damaged bronze unit, and then... Did they destroy one of our units as well? Because I thought they would have destroyed one and seized the other. Yeah, I don't know. Seemed like they missed on one of those things. But move an enemy unit to the other row, damage it by 3. Okay. Other than that, we could at least now use an Infiltrator if we'd like. Neither of these are particularly big, so they aren't great targets for the Tainted Ale, and if we're going to use Leader ability, that's going to make the Infiltrator weaker anyway. So, what if we go... None of them are super high priorities to remove, because they've all used their abilities already. So still just awkward early rounds, it feels like, as of late, with the way our deck is currently built and with the types of enemies we are going up against. So what if we... I'm considering just going Gabor. Leader ability to hit them both and then Gabor. Feels pretty wasteful, to be honest, but I guess.
You sure about that?
Then damage and overkill, I guess. Yes, best boy out here, so that's good. I mean, we could look to make this round relatively short, given how that was decent tempo, especially since we start with so many things on the board. More seizing, and are they seizing then? Oh, okay. Order of operations is they're seizing with the Garcane, and then the unit that they're stealing is the lowest one on the board, so it keeps on. This keeps on backfiring on them, I think. Although that was on cooldown, wasn't it? Oh no, they're seizing it, and then they're using the ability is what they're doing. And it's not, it's doing the bug thing where we tend to see where it still shows up in our deck, but the Footman, they seize a Footman, they use the order ability, so they get rid of the Footman and replace it with a card in their deck. And so that's where that other Drowner came from previously, and that's where this Catacomb just came from. And this is the type of card that we would like to focus more on going after, because that will get more powerful over time, so that is something that could work with an Infiltrator and or a Tainted Ale, or we could get aggressive with an Alzur's Thunder. It's not enough in and of itself to destroy it, but that is a possibility at least. What if we... Just trying to think of what we want to save versus what we want to use immediately of those types of things. We want to save both Infiltrators for round 3, or is one here still okay? Maybe that is. Although, could we maybe Barnabas first? Maybe there are enough cards on the board that we are feeling okay about that. Draw 2 units, set their power to 1. Transform a damaged unit into a bear. Oh man, that almost would have been great, but they'd stolen all of our damaged units. So that kind of stinks. Boost 2 allies, give them immune. Yeah, it's not all that important at this stage. Nothing critical that needs to stay on the board long term. I mean, yeah, so none of these are all that helpful. Wolfsbane is potentially the best, but I'd rather not have a 1-point Isbel, for example, where she just immediately gets destroyed and we lose all that value. So, yeah, this was a whiff. I'm afraid this one was a whiff. And I guess good to you guys, since you are technically engines capable of dealing some extra damage. Oh, I feel like we've seen you a long time ago. Who knows? Not me. I never lost control. Move 2 enemies to the other row. Apply Torrential Rain, which lasts indefinitely, right? Every turn start damage 2 random units in the row by 1. Okay, so the lowest unit is currently Barnabas. It's going to get boosted by 1. I think we are looking at needing to do this. Boost up by the power unit on the right. Unless we also think we need to go Tainted Ale in this round to win it. Might be the case this takes a little bit longer, so we'd like to do this first. If we are planning to go both of these, then it's going to take a little bit of time for them all to activate. So we have a bit of a risk of that backfiring on us. But perhaps we take those chances. Because they could pass here, I think. I think they very well may. Yeah, that hurts. That's not very good timing for us. So actually, no, we can still play two more turns. That's okay. All right, so I think we'll have just enough time. Let's just make sure we put you in the right spot. So after 2 turns, turn start, boost up with the power of the unit on the right. So we put you here.
Go, pop, pop.
And we do need to play one more card. And, I mean, it could be Alchemist here, which is good. I mean, it's going to be overkill. We're going to have... Yeah, I think we're going to have enough points. Once you get destroyed, and once you get boosted and come over to our side, can't necessarily say that definitively, so I guess we'll do this just to play it safe. So when you come over and you get destroyed, yes, we'll take the lead. We do have leader ability back, but we don't need it here. We're going to pass and win round 1. Okay, so we played a lot more cards than our opponent in the previous round, which means, generally speaking, that we would like to dry pass here, not play anything, and just draw to 3 cards going into round 3, so we'll still be at 10 cards apiece. In that case, they'll still need to play something just to overtake our 6 points here. But other than that, I mean, we could also take a little bit of time to fine-tune our hand, although we used a lot of our redraws in the previous round, so we probably are just going to settle for this. And blood does give us some flexibility getting cards out from our deck, so I suppose it doesn't matter too much which cards we draw into for that reason. So we'll just settle here. They'll go for another Drowner, and as we were saying, basically anything will do. Oh, what? Oh no, they destroyed it with their leader ability. Okay. For a second I thought that he was consuming a card from our hand. I was like, that's probably not a very good time to be doing that. Okay, so they overdraw, in fact. We can draw 2, or redraw 2 more cards. Question is, with blood, do we even have enough stuff in our deck right now for this to work? Because you guys are all gone. These are fakes. These are phonies. But we have Slinger and 2 bombers. Oh, right. We haven't seen any bombers yet. That could be kind of useful. We do have 1 infiltrator still remaining, though. So we'd like to not have the bomber going in the same row as the infiltrator. But yeah, my primary question was just, are we even going to have 2 cards to play with blood? And we do. So that is still preferable, I suppose. And is there anything that beats the other stuff? Alchemist is a bit of a risk, but with infiltrator, I think we can set this up a little bit more, kind of like what we did in round 1. The slingers, to set up Gascon, it's not bad. And it was what? Maybe a slinger, definitely going to be at least 1 bomber, possibly double bomber, but the timing of that's going to be a little bit tricky. So, okay, I think we just settle for this. Catechin is going to drain, so that is going to be, I think, our preferred target for our infiltrator. The thing is, we're off cooldown for leader ability. So, on one hand, we kind of like to hit you to get our leader ability back as quickly as possible. On the other hand, it means we're weakening the target for the infiltrator, which means infiltrator is going to be weaker as well. So it's not great from that standpoint. Guess we could lead with a slinger. It's a little bit overkill, as is usually the case with them, where we really need some cards that we like playing on turn 1 and turn 2 is the key thing that we're missing for the most part here in this deck, it feels like. But yeah, move Catechin, at least remove the armor, move the horn, which doesn't do anything, but it does power up Gascon still, so that's a little bit of something. Don't even get anything for the 3rd movement, and then probably still leader ability, and assume that they're going to have another Catechin that they play at some point, and maybe that's the one that we go after with the infiltrator. Something like that, I guess.
Ever have a storm knock out one of your team?
Because this one's going to get weaker, of course. It will power itself up with its ability, though. Okay. So now, I mean, we have more targets for us potentially for things like the Slinger, but we could play Gascon early, technically speaking. That is kind of okay, because he does still gain value whether he's in our hand or on the board. So we could do that, and probably should do that, in fact. Just make sure we put him in the right place so that if we want to Alchemist, that will still be effective. So equal to the unit on the left, so we want Gascon to be on the left of our other stuff.
And just when you thought things were about to get dull.
So waiting for them to play another Catechin, really. Or they'll do that. That does count as movement, so I guess that's kind of useful, sort of. And now Slinger definitely does work, but I was really assuming they were going to play another Catacomb. Maybe since this is not a vampire opponent, they aren't quite as much of a vampire-centric deck. Whereas in the previous encounter, that was very much the case. So maybe we do kind of just have to rely on this Catacomb being the one and only. I mean, right now, it's not even the biggest card on their side. So I guess we still wait then. Again, we kind of set ourselves up for that, given how we used our damage on it. We didn't really have much choice in the matter. But now let's move you. You. Again, the question of, do we think this Catacomb's going to be the biggest? I think we still move it, because it doesn't have armor, so we're at least getting damage from it. And, you know, if this is the biggest thing they're going to have, then so be it. We'll put the Infiltrator next to that instead. And they destroy their own card from their leader ability. Move more stuff. Wait, did that not? Doesn't count if Gascon moves himself? That doesn't power him up? Or maybe because he was getting damage at the same time he was getting moved, I didn't notice? No, he's definitely... I don't know. Okay, so... yeah, I think we do need to go Infiltrator here, and especially because we want to get a bomber, or bombers, plural, out here as quickly as possible. That is something that we do want to do as quickly as possible in some ways. It's just was trying to delay and figure out, is this what we should go after, or is it something else? And at this point, I mean, I guess it's going to be a Garcane or something like that. Oh, also, yeah, we want to make sure they're not going to destroy with their leader ability. I did not even think of that before. I guess we kind of dodged it without even realizing. So if we go, let's see. You still have the power of the unit on the right. So you're both 14s, but if we put you here, we could Alchemist to get you powered up more quickly.
We got a job to do.
Alchemist to set up someone next to Gascon has potentially better upside, but this just gives us more options. Okay, and they keep on moving Gascon around, and that is damaging him a bit. So you are going to go down very soon to this Catacomb. But now that we have established where you are going to be, we can go, and I think should go, Blood, and probably Bomber this row, and, oh, well, yeah, it's going to be Bomber this row. We can't move you, so we are going to have to move some other things out of that row, unfortunately. But with another Slinger in hand, we can, once you come back over to our side, we can then just move everything to the row that has the fire in it. So, guess that's the plan then. So, order of operations shouldn't matter too much here. Don't think we go double bomber, again, just because we have that Infiltrator here. So, although this potentially does have better value, it's, the circumstance is not ideal for it. Let's go... I think we still kind of need something next to Gascon, right?
Catch!
I mean, he might continue to get moved around more, but we need to keep you here. What? Oh. Right, this is the fire. Thought it was the Slinger for a second. So we move you, which does mean we're basically committing to the Alchemist on Gascon later. We move you because you don't have armor, and then just any of you, really. Does power up Gascon. You come back over. Okay. Ekimara draining all enemies in a row. We only had one enemy, or one unit over there, thankfully, so it was not a very big deal. So then... oh, we have leader ability as well, which I might have ignored previously, but we have 3 cards on 14, so that's definitely a good target for us. I think we're probably looking to go Slinger after that. Let's go this first, so we don't mess with everything being lined up nicely. Now we have lots of 10s, but I'm not sure we're going to have quite enough time to get that back. So let's go here and move all you guys. Yeah, now all these are lined up at 7 for the Ekimara. So it is going to become pretty big. I would love to have the weakest card be over next to Gascon still, but okay. So we also could... let's see, you're the one that's doing the draining, right? So if we hit you with the Alzur's Thunder, it almost takes you out. It might be enough if you happen to get hit by the fire, and that would be very convenient. Don't know order of operations-wise, fire versus this ability, what happens first. So that would potentially dictate whether you get boosted up before you take damage from fire, and that would be a difference maker. Might mean you get destroyed. But we might take our chances there. We want to probably go Isbel at the second to last turn to maximize her value. She would potentially be the best card to put next to Gascon. And then use Alchemist to get her bigger and then obviously activate her. So I think that's probably the plan there. But, you know, they might have damage to disrupt us further. We'll have to see. Okay, I think we did get rid of the Catkin, didn't we? Yeah. Or their leader ability activated and took it out. What is that? Boost up by 1 whenever an enemy takes damage. Okay, so it's basically the opposite of Isbel. It's basically the previous version of Isbel. Alright, well, we're gonna do this, I think. We could Isbel now, especially with no Garcane. Oh, hold on. Okay, they're on cooldown. They could potentially... No, it sees a damaged bronze enemy, so they're not gonna be able to seize Isbel. Basically, the question is, can we play Isbel a little bit early and just see if we can get slightly more value out of Northern Wind on our next turn? Not really sure that's going to make the biggest of differences. Maybe it's worth a little bit more. We'll take our chances, I guess. We'll take our chances. So next turn this, then Northern Wind to set you up. It's going to drain people here. Okay. So now it's you. And Isbel is holding on. What is she still taking damage from? Not sure what it was that was doing the damage, but maybe it was something that we just destroyed. They obviously have a lead, but Isbel is huge, assuming that she stays alive, which is kind of important on this last turn. It's basically going to be the deciding factor. Think we can still win this one. Carried by Isbel. We're 1 turn away from getting leader ability, unfortunately, but we go Alchemist, and with Alchemist, set unit's power equal to the unit on its left, right? So we do this on Isbel, making Isbel much bigger in the process, and then we activate Isbel for 61 damage, and that is definitely enough to take the win. Cool encounter. Similar to the one that we saw previously, although definitely less vampires in this case, which I think probably was a little bit easier for that reason. Let's see what else we can loot here. And this should open things up for us to progress further in this direction. Also curious to see from a loot standpoint. We saw in Mahakam, we did not get a lot of resources, and so I noticed we got more wood than gold on that occasion. Supposedly this is a place that has a lot of wood because it is, isn't it the place that supplies wood for the Nilfgaardian army, and that was sort of the reason why we were trying to attack here in the first place, so maybe that does mean we'll get lots more wood, in particular in the future. But now with this route clear, maybe we check over here. We shouldn't need to build this bridge anymore. There might be something over here, maybe even a hidden chest or something like that in a puzzle. And then this battle as well, so lots of things for us to check out now. Let's see, there are more resources there as well, but I'm intrigued by this. That's a Temerian flag, is it not? Let's see. From Foltest, King of Temeria, I would argue, yes, it probably is in that case. So that's, of course, another Northern Realm, and I think we were saying previously that this area is, I believe, right on the edge of Temeria, and is maybe kind of sort of disputed as to whether it's Temerian territory, but I think that kind of is. So King of Temeria, Ponsar, Mahakam, Sodden, and Ungren, which is where we currently are, so yes, to the Ungranian Foreign Defense Corps. The Nilfgaardians have breached our defenses, of course. Of course they have. Well, we've seen some of them already. I am ordering a complete retreat to Temeria and Bruges via the shortest routes. Do not confront Nilfgaardian forces except in cases of direct attack or attempts at disarmament. All should negotiate the withdrawal of garrisons for each town they reach. So just a massive retreat for the Temerians. They are trying to avoid confrontation with the Nilfgaardians, which, on one hand, you could say is a deliberate strategic maneuver because they think they're they're overmatched, and so their only chance to fight off the Nilfgaardians is to all basically regroup at their best fortifications and whatnot, and these places here in the forest are probably not some of their best fortifications. On the other hand, for being a little more pessimistic, could be a little suspicious if they're just clearing way for the Nilfgaardians to progress through the woods. Then they might be trying to help the Nilfgaardians in some way. Maybe they've struck a deal, because, I mean, as we were just saying, Temeria is a northern realm, which would suggest that it's on the list of places Nilfgaard would like to attack, but maybe if they came to some kind of agreement, they might have found a way to circumvent what would have otherwise been a dangerous situation. What is this? That swamp area is shiny, and that makes me nervous. We don't know what this point of interest is, but something tells me something terrible is going to happen as soon as we get over here, but we're going to see what it is. Okay, milady, something made of precious metal shimmers on the floor of the swamp. It could be ancient elven treasure. We can attempt to pull it out, but we must be prepared for the worst. These waters are not the safest. So let's see, such is a soldier's life to take such risks. We must get our hands on those riches. Wow. Lose 10 recruits, that is a lot. Gain 75 gold and lower morale. Or we can say, oh wow, there's no hold on, wait a second, I'd like to come back here on a later occasion option. We can say, I won't risk my soldiers' lives for a hunk of metal at the bottom of the swamp. We must ride on and gain morale. Or we can have Barnabas devise a contraption that'll fetch the treasure without risk. Huh. So it seems like this is all just a matter of what resources are of most value to us. This is, I guess, the most neutral option. We're currently on neutral morale. It would get us up to high, which would be kind of nice, because I don't think we've encountered any shrines yet in this area. And these fights that we've seen thus far are somewhat difficult, so might be the kind of advantage we would need in some situations. So there is something to be said for this. And therefore, lowering our morale here could be a bit painful. That might make it quite challenging for us to overcome our next random encounter, or next normal battle, really. The recruits, we don't care too much about losing those, but if this is all just for 75 gold, that just doesn't seem all that dramatic, all that impactful. I was expecting this to be a card fragment, so that just doesn't feel like that's a good exchange rate. You know, 10 recruits and the low morale, again, this time is actually more relevant for us. For 75 coins, just doesn't feel like we're getting enough out of that. And kind of similar here with Barnabas. You would think, in the past we've seen, when we've had an option that is based on using the skill set of one of our allies, that has generally been the clear and obvious way to go. It's sort of the way of rewarding you for saying, hey, you stuck it out, you recruited this ally, and in some cases, you trusted them to stick with you, even if things got a little shaky with your relationship at some point in time. But even in this case, losing 100 wood for 75 gold, we were just saying it seemed like we are generally getting more wood than gold from these encounters, so, I mean, usually I think gold is a little more valuable than the wood, but this still doesn't feel great. Unless there's some other hidden benefit to this? Maybe there is? Maybe it's not just the gold, and so there is something to be said? Well, I guess we'll try this out. Anything else? No? Alright. I mean, I guess, yeah, we were saying wood might be somewhat easy to come by here, gold less so, so maybe that's the appeal of going that route, is you're getting better access to resource that would be tough to come by in this area. Let's see. Outside of that, I think we had a puzzle. Yeah, over here. That's a bridge that we don't need to build. And it looks like we can loop around in an even number of directions over here. This area does, in general, remind me a whole lot of Molderwood. Obviously, both are forests. They both have winding roads that are, in some cases, a little bit hidden. Is there anything here? This feels like there'd be a hidden something or other there. Oh, some loot hidden in some corners, sometimes multiple ways to get to the same area. And, you know, you might have shortcuts that you can build bridges like this. to expedite your travel, but other times, if you're willing to go fight other enemies, then you can save those costs. Is there anything over here? Oh, can we? No, we can't access that from there. Okay, so this is actually, looks like an Arcaspore, and seems to have overrun what looks like just a little encampment here, but at the same time, there's some kind of notice board there, so we definitely want to get in here. Let's check it out. It is a puzzle, not a normal battle, so that means we should have a special deck, just one round, and special rules. Of course, it's been a while since we had a puzzle. I think this is our first one in Ongrin. So let's see, Abandoned Outpost. 1 week. All it took for the Nilfgaardians to wrest Ongrin from Temeria. Okay, so they've already taken it over, it seems. Maybe that... Did we have a date on that letter we saw from Foltest? Was that a while ago? It might have been. The Blackclads quickly learned, however, that they mustn't rest on their laurels, because it seems like this area is generally not all that safe, even if they have repelled what would have normally been their enemies. There are still plenty of monsters here. Their true enemies were not the Nordlings who had supposedly ruled the land, but the beasts who dwelled within. It is they who taught the Nilfgaardians early on that it's best not to venture too deeply into the swamps. Eliminate all Arcaspores without letting any allies die. Okay, so it is a puzzle. 1 round. So there is a right way to do this. It does not require that we use our starting deck here. Let's see. So that row is on fire. Every turn start, deal 2 damage, or 33% chance of dealing damage. Damage a unit by the number of cards in this row, including self. I mean, we've always used this for enemies in the past, but I suppose you could use it on our own guys. So that's an obvious way to give ourselves some damage on these, but presumably we're going to want some way to move them over here to help us out a bit. Boost a unit by 10. Why would we want that? I mean, we have to at least try, right? We have to at least try to just go Lyria and Rivia, destroy, 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 destroy. Hold on, it's Lyria and Rivia plus. Remind me what the difference is. Damage unit by the number of cards in this row, including self. Loyal, damage random enemy unit nearest to self by 2, but we don't have any leader abilities here. So I just don't understand how that's going to factor in, but
Give me a time.
see how this works? Oh, I need to read the Arcaspores. Right. That might help. That might help. Every turn on turn end, if this unit's power is even, move 1 row toward the opponent and damage the lowest unit on the battlefield by 1. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes it much more of an actual puzzle and much less of just spamming the same unit in the same row every single turn. And Fortitude Tonic suddenly makes a lot of sense. So if we use this, that means you're no longer the lowest unit this would be, but none of you are moving. Can it damage itself? Does that work? I'm not sure. Let's try this. This is going to move again. Will it damage itself? Because it is the low... Excuse me? That's the highest unit on the battlefield. What the heck? It's the opposite of what you're supposed to do. Excuse me? Okay, now this is gonna move. I assume it should hit this now, right? This one should hit that. Why are you... What the heck? What the heck? Okay, well, this is weird. But I guess we're gonna see what happens here if we just go this route. Seems kind of odd to me, but maybe this... Oh, right, we can't have any of our guys die. I was gonna say, it seemed like we might have had enough damage there that it was still gonna work, but... Am I going crazy, or did these guys just do exactly the opposite of what they were supposed to do? If this unit's power is even, move 1 row toward the opponent and damage the lowest unit on the battlefield by 1. You were damaging the highest unit on the battlefield for several turns. You did eventually, I think, hit the lowest unit, but that made very little sense. So I think we probably do still do this first. It is apparently going to hit you, even though everyone else is tied for 7. I mean, we can see. Yeah, like that. That theoretically is a 25% chance of that happening. So it seems kind of silly that that's the direction it does go. I think maybe we do this next. And then next turn, we're going to use Fortitude Tonic on you to keep you not dead. Right, otherwise, I guess we could go one more turn, and then you'll take 3 damage, which is just enough for you to survive. Even after you get hit. So now we do this. And now again. You are not the lowest unit. I mean, these guys are tied, but presumably it's going to hit these guys because it's kind of mean like that. Now we do this. Hit you. You get destroyed. And we just hit you like that. Okay. Not so bad. Once we read the cards, and once we realized that the cards were kind of lying to us a little bit. Yeah, not too difficult. Okay. So puzzle complete. And we have some loot from that puzzle. And yeah, again, it does seem like it is mostly wood, only a little bit of gold. But perhaps more significantly... Oh, it's a letter. Okay, let's see. On Nordling Folklore, I assume this is Nilfgaardian. Quickly. But, okay, but, at ease, Nordling. Was this supposed to be a series of translations? Quickly, at ease, Nordling. Away, be gone. Behind me, no passage. I recognize this from, there's a card in Gwent multiplayer that says this as his voice line. That's kind of cool. Otherwise, I would not have known what that meant. Okay. I was expecting for us to find other things popping up on our map from a notice board, but that is not the case here. We do still know of several things, though. There's still a battle here. We know that's just a bridge. We don't really care much about that. We don't need to build that anymore. That's just a waste of wood. We have a point of interest there, and we have a puzzle, which I think we might need to go through this area here to access. I don't think we can make it through there from this angle just yet. We're at exactly 1,500 wood, which maybe it's worth a quick check to see if that gets us to an important threshold for crafting something. So we also haven't really looked at that as of late, I don't think. Mess tent, I'm actually surprised we've not done this upgrade yet, because it feels like we were looking at this for a long time, but it was kind of us weighing between getting the mess tent upgrade, which was sort of the less expensive but less efficient option, versus the soldiers' quarters, which is the direction that we opted to go in before. So, I mean, that is still an option to get this now, I suppose. But it would use most of our gold in that case. Nothing we can afford here, and I don't think that's all that useful for us anyway. Then the workshop. We could unlock these things here, which is also not all that useful, but is this the place where we get the upgrade for the extra armor? No, where was that one? That's if we get the command tent, decreasing the gold cost of creating units, which is also something we probably don't care all that much about. We're very close to this, actually. Just need a little bit more gold. Probably just one more, maybe slightly more than one of those encounters, given how we aren't getting much gold from stuff these days. Do that, and then we can suddenly do Palisade, which is something that could still benefit us. Getting armor at the start of the battle on our cards does mean that we're taking a little bit less damage, so Isbel, who gets powered up based on how much damage we've taken, is going to be a little bit weaker, but if it means that our cards are staying alive and going to have more points because they're not getting damaged as easily, then that's probably still on net a benefit. So that is the most direct benefit we could get from doing any upgrades here. And then more indirectly, the mess tent, which is not even something that we need right now, because we're not even sure if we could exceed our recruit cap, even if we wanted to, at the moment. But with that being said, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here. We've completed one more battle and one more puzzle, but we have a few more things that we're looking to do in the area. And, I mean, we are still just at the beginning, it seems, of this wooded... I mean, this whole area, this whole location is deep in the woods. So, yeah, that's probably not going to change anytime soon. Perhaps not until we get over to this main quest area. And even after that, it's just the whole place is woods and swamp. So we have that to look forward to next time. But thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.